Hi artists, today we are going to be talking about lines, which is something that we have talked about in the past. Lines can be used to show movement, lines can be used to show mood, and mood is how someone feels, angry or happy. Lines can also be used to add interest, and that is what we're going to be using them for mostly in this project. You can see that when we repeat lines, they create a pattern or can fill in a space. So we're going to be using some lines like these, and you might want to come back later and pause this part of the video so that you can look at these lines as you create your project. Here's an example of an artist who used lots of different lines to fill in spaces, and his name is Romero Brito. You might have seen some of his work in the Miami airport, and he uses these lines to fill in space and add interest. But they're not just lines, also they're shapes and patterns, and you can use shapes and patterns in yours also. Here's an example of a piece of artwork by Joan Miro, and what he did is he used lines to draw your eye from the bottom of the page upward and also to show movement. It looks like these circles are moving around because of the way he put them in a line. Here we've got a very famous painting by Vincent van Gogh, and he used his brush strokes to create lines which then create a sense of movement here in the sky. This is a very famous piece of artwork by someone named Mo Willems, and he has created Piggy and Gerald, and he uses lots of lines to show movement or to show mood, how they're feeling. Here's another example of Mo Willems' work with Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus. And he's got lots of lines here around the pigeon to show how the pigeon is feeling, which is generally frustrated about not being allowed to drive the bus. What we're going to be doing today is we are going to be creating line landscapes. And a landscape typically has a foreground, which is the front closest part, and a middle ground and a background. And we're going to create these three sections, and we're also going to be filling them in and adding interest with lines. Here's another example of something that someone did. This doesn't have a foreground, middle ground, and background so much, but it is a cool way of differentiating between the different layers of the sea and the waves and using lines to show that difference. So one way to show space is to overlap parts of an artwork to create a foreground, a middle ground, and a background. You can see the foreground is up in front where the cows are. The middle ground is a little further away, those trees and mountains and the boats off in the distance. And then the background, we have our sky and the clouds that are far away. Here, if you can see that our foreground has flowers. Our middle ground is these trees, which are a little ways away. And then way in the background, we see our mountains. Here we've got stones in the foreground. In our middle ground, we've got the lake. And in the background, we have mountains and clouds. So today we are going to be using our pencil and drawing foreground, middle ground, and background. We're going to divide our parts, we're going to add patterns and lines, and we're going to be then using a Sharpie. We are actually probably going to do it with Sharpie the first time because we're great like that, we can do it. Then we're going to be coloring in our sections with colored pencils. So let's get started.
What you're going to need for today is just a white piece of paper, something to go under it so that it doesn't go through onto your table, and then you're going to need a Sharpie. And if you don't have a Sharpie, you probably should go out and get one because we're going to be using a lot of Sharpies, and if you're working at home and you're going to be for a few weeks, you might need a Sharpie for the next art class also. Alright, so we're going to start by drawing a foreground, and then we're going to move on to our middle ground, and then we're going to move on to our background. And right now we're just going to draw some really large, simple shapes, and then we're going to be adding detail later. So, for example, I might draw a tree, and if you're worried about, drawing this stuff, and especially drawing with a Sharpie the first time, just remember that we can always make it into something else. We can always turn our mistakes into something different. So I'm just going to draw a small tree here, and I'm going to keep it really simple. I'm just going to make it like a lollipop tree. And then I'm going to maybe draw a bush. And again, I'm going to keep it really simple. So that's my foreground, the things that are closest to me. And now I'm gonna work on my middle ground. My middle ground, I'm gonna make like some hills. And then my background, I'm gonna make some mountains, and I'm gonna show you a neat technique to use if you want to use it. So I'm gonna make a pointy mountain, and I'm gonna kind of make it go up a little wobbly and then down. And then in order to make it look three-dimensional, like it's coming out towards me, I'm gonna draw a third line, and that's just gonna be kind of wobbly, jagged, coming out towards me here. And I'll show you when we fill it in how you can use that to make your mountain look even a little more 3D. So I'm gonna make another one back here. And we're overlapping here, right? So you're seeing that this mountain is behind this mountain, and we can see that because they overlap. Now I'm gonna make a, maybe I'll make a sun, but let's make it going down. So I can only see part of it. And then maybe some clouds that go off the page. So it can just be really simple. Yours doesn't have to look just like this. I'm gonna show you a few examples that I did in different years. So here's a finished product already colored with colored pencil. You can see that I've got a river. I've got it starting small because it's far off in the distance, and then as it gets closer, it gets larger. And that makes it look a little bit more realistic because it uses perspective. Also, I've got these like forest off in the background, and those are small, smaller than the trees up front because they're further away. Here's another example which is not completely finished, but can show you, you could do some pine tree styles, or you could do some bushes that just look simple like that. And then finally, here's one more sample, which also isn't finished, but you could do some flowers in the front. And then these could be your big background clumps of trees. And they don't look like trees, but if you color them green, they're gonna look like a bunch of trees off in the background. So that's our first step, is to draw our basic landscape. The next step you're gonna do is you are gonna fill in these sections with lines. I want you to count your sections. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I want you to have at least 10, and I don't want you to have more than 20. So 10 to 20 sections. And then I want you to fill in at least half of them with some sort of line. So you could start by making straight lines in one section. Maybe I'll do that in this tree here. I like to move my paper a little bit to make it easier. In this section you might be doing straight lines, so you want to have variety. If you don't have variety, then your picture will end up looking all the same and it won't be very interesting. So I'm going to spend some time now just making some lines. You can think about what types of lines you would want to make, and you can fill in more than half of your sections if you want, but do at least that, please. All right, I think I'm finished for now, and so this is all I need you to do for this week. Next week, we are going to spend some time using our colored pencils, learning some blending techniques to color it.